What really impressed me was the number of people here. There's several hundred people in that room, and I've walked around, I've looked at the displays. There are various options that are being presented, but the key point is we should have done this 3 or 4 months ago.
The project that we're talking about today is our Mid-Atlantic Resiliency Link, and the acronym for that is MARL, and that's MARL. That project was awarded to NextEra Energy Transmission as part of a long-term planning request for proposals cycle that PJM, which is the regional electric grid operator in this region, that they had completed.
I brought my husband. We're from northern Preston County, just on the line with Pennsylvania and close enough to Maryland that all of this area is important to us.
It's a multi-state region, so they cover here Maryland. Originally they were PJM because it was Pennsylvania, Jersey, Maryland, but they also cover West Virginia, Ohio, parts of Indiana, Delaware, much broader region, but they cover our entire project area. PJM is continuously collecting information about what's happening on the electric grid, and as part of that window, they were identifying an additional approximately 11 gigawatts of power generation retirements, as well as an additional potentially 7 gigawatts of additional power demand that was happening throughout the region.
You know, they talked about stream impacts and impacts to property owners, and we feel those are all very important. We felt that they did not really touch on some of the things that a lot of the communities are going to want to know. Where does the power come from? What happens if I don't say yes to this lease or say yes to land surveys? Or, you know, what are our state agencies communicating, or our county commissioners? You know, what have they already had discussions about, or promises that have been made?
It's a large amount of both generation change and additional demand that is coming in there, but that's something that they are working on with their experts and their planning team at PJM to make sure that whenever customers are flipping the light switch at their home, that they're getting safe, reliable electric power. We're just supporting the transmission of power. We're not affiliated with any specific power generation.
This is too late to be doing this. They know where they're going to put that line. I don't know where it's going to be, but they know. And this is just a dog and pony show because there's been so much opposition to what they're trying to do.
PJM awarded the project based on the needs that they were forecasting. Right now, we're here today at this open house to get input from the public on potential draft options. And so we're working through that process to identify the least impactful solution that meets the electricity needs in the region.
Some of these lines are going right smack through sensitive areas, really concerned about the wildlife, really concerned that that's what Garrett County's all about, the wildlands, and they're going to go right through them and very destructive.
We have not yet selected a route, and so we're working through that process right now to select a route. The project right now is a 500 kV transmission line. It's about 105 miles long, as well as an additional new substation located in Frederick County, Virginia. The project is expected to be in service in 2031. We're expecting about a 2-year construction period to support that. We are looking at applying into the 4 states that we have components located in for application of the site siting process late summer or early fall of this year, and then expect a 1 to 2 year process for reviews from each of those states.
That NextEra is the developer of the transmission line, whereas PJM is their customer for the transmission line. So my question for them was, right, we have this public comment time. Was PJM hearing these comments? They have a goal for this project of development to be done by 2031, but then PJM steps in. They're the next consumer of these transmission. I guess we're the consumer. They're the next keeper of the transmission lines. So that's part of my question. Where are they involved in the public comment?
So we will work with private property owners and landowners. That's why we're here today, soliciting feedback from the public. We have some preliminary route options that are available, and the goal here today is to solicit feedback from the communities and from local individuals who know their communities the best to help inform that routing decision so that we can make the most responsive decision that meets the electrical needs that is possible.
That's really going to be the defining moment. When you have new parcels that have never had a right-of-way agreement, I do think that people are going to push back. People don't like trespassing. People don't like the word eminent domain. And it sounds like they're gearing up to use eminent domain, whether it's this high transmission line or others. I'm not just saying NextEra is planning on using that, but that is a tactic and a tool that industry uses to be able to access properties that they can't get amenable agreements with the landowners.
Our goal is to work with landowners to get voluntary easements. And through that process, we're going to have engagement with individuals. And if there's a strong concern, we are going to look at opportunities to look at a different route or a different option to help mitigate those concerns. We want to embark on a process that's clear and transparent with any potential landowner. And we hope they'll join us here today or at one of our other meetings to support that.
If there are eminent domain requests being put out there, I think that's when we will see more combined organizing in opposing this project.
Farmers are concerned they're going to take away their property. They're not going to give them the value if they have to go to eminent domain. The county commissioners have said there will not be any eminent domain. And the governor has even said in a project east of here in Frederick and Carroll and Baltimore County that there will not be eminent domain. So I'm wondering why we're even doing this. They ought to pack up their bags and go home.
Because it's at my heart to care so deeply about nature. That's my number one concern. The creatures can't speak for themselves in the least bit. At least we can speak for ourselves and for our neighbors when we fight back things like eminent domain. They can't say, I need this tree. They can't say, my home is under this log. And that is what makes my voice shake.
In other parts of the state of Maryland, what we're looking at is a lot of controversy around the Piedmont transmission project, and that was one of my questions to the representative I spoke with. And there's a lot of controversy around that, eminent domain for private gain. It's a different company, but I asked, that's something we're going to see.
There's a number of route options available here for people to comment on. They're also available on our website. We've got a QR code, but our website is available online and it has an interactive mapper. We have a couple of different options, including one that would avoid the wildlands. There is an existing transmission line that bisects the wildlands that predates the formation of those wildlands. Paralleling that line is one of the options we're asking people to comment on, but we also have an alternative and we would love feedback from the public on those options.
So when it comes to the next step, which they don't really know, will this impact you directly, right? I live on the southern end of the county, and I don't live on a property where a transmission line may go through, but that doesn't mean it doesn't matter to me because Garrett County is my favorite place in the whole world, and it matters to my neighbors. So that's why I'm here, to educate myself.
And if you are familiar with unconventional well sites or coal mines, there's a lot more than just a high transmission power line or a stack that emits emissions. There's waste products that come out of there. There's coal mines have subsidence issues where homes are impacted. Natural gas extraction is the newest industry to say that they're going to be bringing economic gain to Southwest Pennsylvania. And when those waste costs are not fully weighed, you cannot weigh the entire impact of a project without including those.
So as we were awarded the project, we are making sure that we have enough space and to work within a right-of-way that we can ensure that we can maintain and deliver safe, reliable electric power. So we're looking at an additional right-of-way to make sure that we have adequate space in order to meet those needs.
We have a weekly paper that has done its best to keep the people informed. Most of the information has been coming from the Cumberland Times, the Baltimore Sun, and the Baltimore Banner. And most people up here don't read those newspapers.
It's a solution that would require lots of parallel lines to come in that can take up quite a bit of space. It's also not been done anywhere at this length, and it is quite expensive. So it's something that we did not propose. It was not one of our solutions. We recognize that people often have questions about that, and we have an engineering team here, and at each of our open houses, I'd be happy to discuss that in more detail.
Gentlewoman from NextEra mentioned it has to go through the PJM and then the Maryland Public Service Commission, and there'll be hearings on that. We've already been in touch. A number of my friends and I have been in touch with the Public Service Commission and the General Counsel, asking that they allow us to testify. and they assured us that they would.
We are working with the Maryland Department of Natural Resources and a number of state and federal agencies. We've asked for their input. We're continuing to work through that process. Here in Maryland, the Maryland Department of Natural Resources has a power plant research program that helps to inform and provide advisory support to the state as they evaluate applications for transmission lines.
There should have been a public meeting with our elected officials who have ducked out of the meeting. You know, they haven't attended meetings. They haven't been in support of this project, nor has the Department of Natural Resources been in support of the project. Yet I've heard one of the representatives talking about their relationship with natural resources. It's funny, they didn't testify on the bill.
If you have questions about data centers, their impacts to communities, but also future proposals, talk to your county commissioners or your elected officials, because they're already having those discussions, and that's something that the public needs to be aware of.
We really appreciate the turnout and people providing their feedback. We want to provide a clear, transparent process. We encourage folks to visit our website where they can either submit a comment, view the interactive mapper. They can also reach us via a hotline and email address that are available on that website.
You know, it's hard being, especially if you have a job, you're not used to the process, you don't understand how things like this happen, you're not a lawyer, right? Understanding this process isn't accessible to the average person, and that's what just makes it so manipulative. So I would say organize with your community members. If you hear about this and you have neighbors, share that with your neighbors, because, you know, chances are maybe they haven't heard about it. I heard about this through Facebook with Engage Mountain, Maryland, and that's one of the only places I've heard people talking about this.
And I think that's really what a lot of people would see as a productive grassroots movement, is all 4 states coming together, talking about these issues, all 4 states having representatives be heard, whether it's communities, whether it's organizations, but really what the best would be, have citizens or residents of those communities being able to discuss their problems and share those problems with the other states or other communities that are being impacted.
So I hope people continue to talk and that more talk happens.
Tried to share the word with some friends from different organizations.
I did not expect at 3 o'clock. I figured there'd be 10 or 15 people here, and you've got a couple of hundred. So that's good. It shows that the community cares about this. And I think that NextEra is going to have to give some thought to this and slow down.